This video is brought to you by Manscaped.com,
baby. Manscaped is the premier brand for men's grooming products and accessories.
They have everything you need to level up your full body grooming game.
I really like Manscaped because it's the go-to place to get yourself cleaned up. So I don't like shopping very much. So when I have to like clean my balls, clean my nose hairs, clean my nails, I can trust Manscaped on sending me a package and I can cover all of my hygiene needs.
And I owe it to Manscaped that it increases my blowjob getting abilities.
Hygiene is very important, and that's why we recommend their perfect package 3.0.
It comes with the Lawnmower 3.0 body trimmer. Ba, 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 ba. Look at that one, baby.
It's waterproof and it has advanced skin-safe technology to prevent nicks, cuts, and accidentes.
Ouchies! They got ball deodorant and ball toner to keep your balls feeling so fresh.
They smell manly too. And also it comes with the magic mat to catch all your little pubies when you trim.
If you enroll in the Manscaped Peak Hygiene Plan, you'll never have to worry about these items running out.
You will get quarterly replenishments of your favorite products and trimming blades sent to your door hassle-free.
Go to www.manscaped.com/JKNews to get 20% off.
Plus free international shipping.
What? International?
Yeah.
Go check out the link in the description because your balls will thank you very much.
Did you guys hear that in Manhattan, Manhattan's Chinatown, there were over 500 Asian American seniors that were given these loud alarm devices for their protection because there's been so many like hate crimes happening right now because of COVID. They're targeting Asians heavily.
So they recently did this whole protest in March because this lady got like they put gasoline on her and lit her on fire or something.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I have a photo of her shirt. Yeah, so there was this 89-year-old woman who just stepped foot outside of her home, and then these two people came up to her, pushed her for no fucking reason.
Slapped her?
And yeah, slapped her, pushed her, and then she turned around, they lit her back.
With a match.
Yeah, with a lighter.
It's fucked up, dude.
Isn't that crazy that New York's like a multicultural place and like you would think that there's a lot more acceptance or understanding? That's crazy.
And then the people that are doing it, like the racism that's happening to them, it's just all colors, man. Like it's not, you imagine it's like this like KKK white guy when you think racism, right? Yeah. But it's all different cultures that are doing it to these Asians. Yeah. It's or the Chinese ladies or whatever. It's crazy.
I think Chinese people are like very easy targets though. I think through the eyes of a
old people,
yeah, it's just like, just Asians in general, I think have a stereotype for being quieter and less confrontational, right? Yeah. And then you add the age on top of that, and it's just like an easy target. Yeah, it's so lame.
That makes it easier? I mean, yeah, it makes it easier, but like that makes them more of a target because they're
because they don't fight target. Yeah. So it's like if you're a criminal, right? Like you don't want to rob a big guy.
Well, yeah, I get that.
You want an old lady and grab her purse and run with it, right?
Kind of thing.
Well, so there's a difference between trying to like steal something from an old lady versus burning them or slapping them.
No. So let's say you're an angry coward, right? Yeah. If you're an angry, weak fucking coward and you hate a group, you're not gonna go to the most biggest, tattooed, meanest dude. You're not gonna find fucking. Yeah, you're not gonna get Yao Ming and throw gassing on his ass, right? You're gonna find a child, you're gonna find an old lady, you're gonna find something and fuck them up. And then feel good about it because they themselves, the people that are doing this are weak as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they have to prey on...
To make themselves feel dope, yeah. It's like the guys that beat up girls on the street or rape them and all that. It's because they're weak themselves, you know? Like they're cowards.
Yeah. And this is like it's not even a race thing either, because like I've read, like we've come across so many articles in like Brooklyn and stuff where like these youths are just going around punching old people, knocking them out and stuff. Like that one punch, like let's see what happens if you just punch an old guy or a homeless guy. Fuck. And that's just like a thing that's happening in New York. Is
that like a prank culture type?
Prank culture, yeah. It's not even Asian people though. It's like
No, that's been around for a while. It's called One Punch Knockout.
One Punch Knockout, yeah.
I mean, I remember like people were doing it when I was a kid, and it's like you try to knock people out in one punch. And then guys would just like
That's a
run up
game.
to random people on the street, and then they just try to wail on them, and then you win the game if you can knock them out with one hit.
Why don't they just join a boxing class?
Because they're cowards, dude. Like think about it. They're little bitches.
Yeah,
like it's
so
scary
crazy
when
that they film it and upload it. Like
Yeah, a lot of videos.
To do that though. Like,
It is.
And they're probably also picking like easy prey. You know?
well, they go to the. They don't do it in front of them. Or start. They just run up to.
they
the back.
sucker punch people. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's horrible. But it's like really heartbreaking though that they like this is happening to the point where now they're giving elderly people these loud alarm. It's like a little remote that once you press it, it's like I think 125 decibels.
Holy
Yeah,
shit!
so it's like really
Does
loud.
that make the grandma deaf too, though?
She'd probably.
Is that candy?
It's like you gotta take out your
think it's
hearing
candy.
aid first.
So they're like, you could get your candy and you could get your like alarm meter. So you just sucking on a lollipop.
They need that in like LA for like in the Hispanic communities because they've been getting robbed like the people that.
Oh my God! Yeah.
happened?
I recently.
Oh, like the ice cream guy?
Yeah, I heard about like the
happened?
eloteros.
Eloteros and.
Sucks.
Oh
They're
fuck.
getting attacked.
The ice cream man.
Street vendors. Yeah.
Why are they getting attacked though? They have nothing to do with the virus.
Just because people are desperate. I don't know. They have a lot of rage that need.
But then it's like they film them too. So like the guys will be in the car, they'll pull over like, oh, let me get a candy, whatever. And they pull out the money to give them change, and then they like start beating the shit out of them.
my
And then,
God.
like,
You mean the guy that's pushing the cart?
Yeah.
Or not the ice cream
Guys and
truck?
girls. No, like it's been mostly like the street vendors, just like all types of street vendors.
What the fuck?
Cart ones, yeah.
I know.
I mean, they bring so much joy and shit. They're like, here's a popsicle.
There's a lot of pussies out there. And they're just angry or something.
That's so insane.
Taking it out on people that are just
To me,
doing their thing.
Those are the kind of people that just like kick dogs and like
Yeah.
stomp on like stray cats. And,
Is there like a group of vigilantes that like get together and find these people on social media and just go and fuck them up?
yeah, that's how people are getting like, you know, the kids that like are doing fucked up shit or these racists or whatever, like they get recorded, right? And then everyone doxes them. But
Yeah.
like these guys specifically, they were out to burn somebody or fuck people up because they were covered up. Like they knew they were going out to commit crime that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So they never got caught.
Not that I know of.
I don't think so.
So there's like
They're
the
also
only.
not treating it as a hate crime, by the way.
Oh,
The cops are
fuck
not
the
treating
cops.
that, like the burning one. They're not treating that as a hate crime because they're saying that these assailants they didn't say any derogatory terms to the point where they can determine that this was race-based. So that's why it's not a hate crime or even old people.
Which one's worse if they get locked up? Hate crime or a like burn pyro crime?
I don't know.
Assault?
I'm assuming.
Because whatever's the worst one I would want.
Well, how often
if you
does that
could
happen?
stack the crime, the more you can stack the crimes, the more time they'll go.
yeah,
So like, it's already a given. Like, just because they label it a hate crime doesn't mean that they're gonna take away that there's an assault that happened in a fucking arson, or not arson, but like, you mean like trying to burn somebody, attempted murder, whatever, right? So hate crime kind of adds to these
charges?
guys, yeah, so they could stay longer in jail if they get convicted. But then it's hard to prove. So what?
Yeah.
The thing is, like, it's not that the cops don't want to. Like, they also want to increase their chances of success. So here's the thing: like, if you throw these charges at them and it all
They don't stick because you can't prove it, then they might just go free
Yep.
for the entire thing.
Yep.
Versus, it's like the
It's a
the
game, man. It's
right?
hard.
Cop killers, instead of like, you know, hitting them with first-degree murder, if you get them with third or second degree, there's a higher chance of actually sticking the punishment.
Yep.
Which is why it turns into a giant legal battle.
And it's harder to prove if these people, like, blatantly, I think it was targeted because it's like who's gonna go and burn an old Chinese lady and whatever, right? But then at the same time, if they didn't literally say those words, if they didn't say them, it's difficult to prove.
By the way, I realize I just said cop killers, not the cop killers, the cops that kill people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the way around. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the 89-year-old. Well, now she's 90. She's here in the middle.
I'm so glad she
There's
survived.
China Mac right
Then
there.
China Mac. They ended up.
He's from New York, right?
I'm
Yes.
assuming there was this like march recently, like what Joe was saying, and it's pretty much trying to call for justice for what she went through because it doesn't seem like anything's really getting done.
Man, I recently saw too, like, there was a bunch of armed, like Chinese folks in Chinatown like that, like in a line when that whole COVID racism thing was going on, and I was like, that's pretty crazy that they had to. It's kind of like the rooftop Koreans, you know? You have to kind of stand there and do that, but they can't be everywhere. And then there's this other group, remember we did a JK News on, it was called like the Guardian Angels or whatever?
Yeah,
but they came out and they were patrolling Chinatown. I think they were a community watch group that started in like the 60s, but they got all these red berets and shit. And then, so it seems like there is support, but not enough, right? There's not enough people there to help. That's crazy, man.
Or at least like, there's not enough being done by those, like the authorities, like those in charge. And that's why people are just fed up. Like they're just upset. Like why isn't anything being done, or why aren't citizens being better protected?
And this is looking really bad for the triads, by the way, because you guys are supposed to fucking, the whole reason
That's true, actually.
They pay extortion is so you guys fucking run the streets and keep these fuckers out.
Specifically in Chinatown, Manhattan.
Yeah, they are?
Well, all the Chinatowns, though.
The tongs, so like historically the tongs, which are the original term for these Chinatown gangs, they were
the Chinese mafia.
They're supposed to be a benevolent group of people that would protect Chinese people in Chinatown, because there were cops back in the day, like in the 1800s and early 1900s, wouldn't actually patrol the streets of Chinatown because they're like, oh, you guys are Asian Chinese motherfuckers, like
who cares?
We're not white. Who cares about you guys? So then they needed to form their own alliance of protection, and that's where the tongs came from. And then now they kind of morphed into triads, and through the 80s they kind of went through their whole like not so bright era.
What? What's that about?
Well, they just went from being a benevolent group of protecting people to just being a full-on gang, you know, over time. So.
What if the reason why they're having this is because all those gangs went to jail, so there's nobody overseeing Chinatown anymore.
They got locked up.
You know?
So now all these old people need to get together and be a gang, you know what I mean?
Like Kung Fu Hustle.
Like Kung Fu Hustle, the axe gangs.
No, they need to be like the old people that beat the axe gang.
Oh yeah, like the lady who smokes a cigarette and just beats people with their slipper.
And
the shower cap
guy.
And her lazy husband.
Yeah.
That movie was so good.
It's a really weird time in general, and I don't even really know how to touch on this topic too much, but just being like an Asian American during this year, right? Because like,
have you ever felt racism because of all this stuff this year or no?
Me personally, I haven't gotten racism because of like the coronavirus or anything like that. I've experienced racism in general, but it's nothing crazy. Mainly, like I actually talked about it last time here, like that homeless person who like yelled at me, but like it's a homeless person.
Yeah, he might just be crazy.
Exactly. But I just feel like there's such a weird line or a space of limbo that like Asian Americans kind of like live in right now. And it's not a complaint. I just, life is what it is. But right, it's like being the model minority is one way that is both a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Right, being an Asian American is like both a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, since you're not really from Asia, but at the same time you're associated with anything that is bad in Asia. So it's just
American enough for some reason.
Exactly, it's just this weird limbo where things are like cool and not cool at the same time.
I think we're like, they don't even know what to make of us.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's like, I know black people, I know Mexicans, but wait, I forgot you were here.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is because Case and I, we talk about this sometimes, where it's like Asians in America, they didn't, like, you guys haven't necessarily gotten like a culture kind of thing, because you know, like for Mexicans, like there's like the Chicano culture and all that stuff, but
yeah, it started off lighthearted in the sense that I was like, there's always an American version of an accent of any minority group. Like Mexicans have like the American Mexican accent, or like Italians have the Italian American accent, and you can kind of say that for most people, like you know, I guess Ebonics, you know, and then even like within the white people, like there's like, you know, from their heritage, like they have a certain type of twang to how they speak. But Chinese people don't necessarily have that, or like Asian people don't necessarily have.
Yeah, it's called pidgin in Hawaii.
True, but it only lives in Hawaii, and it's more of a Hawaiian thing rather than like the Asian thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, we don't have, and so we started off with accents, but then we started talking about culture, and I'm like, yeah, like Asian American culture is not very identified as of yet.
Or maybe we're still in the process of
We're
making
in the process of finding it right now.
I see it in comedy in different times, right?
Comedy, yes.
When you talk about like Vietnamese hair salons, when you talk about, you know, just old Chinese people, when you talk about, you know, and like food or whatever, you know, those accents are very clear. When anybody makes fun of like a Korean accent real quick, it's very easy for
But that's
us to...
coming directly from Korea, right? Like people from those countries.
Speaking English though, right? Using.
But it's like foggy accents rather than a American grown.
I understand.
Right?
Yeah, like the Chicano accent is different from a Spanish speaking accent.
Yeah, like, if you're imitating through comedy's lens, right? Like if you're trying to emulate a Mexican accent from someone from Mexico, it's different from a Chicano accent, you know. But Chicano accent, make no mistake, is going to be a Mexican heritage thing. But we don't necessarily have that as Asian.
Would you want an Asian American?
I'm not saying I want that, but like.
It's just interesting to notice that there isn't.
Yeah, and I feel like there's something about that also feels like as Asian Americans we're also kind of too dispersed and not as unified as other minorities are.
And I think that's also because there's not that like centralized culture or identity yet, that could also be why you just see Asians like siding with the ones that are closer. You know, like there's like Asians that grew up in like with more black people, they have more black demeanor, or with more Hispanics, they have more Hispanic demeanor, or the one they have more like Silicon Valley demeanor, because we don't have our thing just yet.
Well, maybe there's also like the Asians also. I mean, there's obviously ones that come together, but then there's ones that like Koreans stick with Koreans. There's so many different subgroups of.
Yeah, because Mexican
subgroups.
is Mexican, even though they're Latinx.
Yeah.
So Southwest culture is mainly a lot of Mexicans, and then Central Latins came in like in the 80s and on.
Yeah, and then Florida, you just think of Cubans or like.
Right, or like Puerto Ricans in New York or whatever. So I think they do have the same type of diversity we do, but they have a common language that brings them together, where we have no common culture.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there is like a Japanese American experience, right?
Yes.
That we just so happen to kind of look similar, but then in the past, for many, many years, there was the Chinese community, there was the Japanese community, and they didn't really like mix as Asian community.
Yeah, maybe it's hard to do like a universal, like just Asian.
We'll get there in probably like 4 or 5 more generations though, right? Because like right now it's very clear, especially except for like the Japanese generations that have been here for longer. You know, with many of the Asians, we're all like first generation. But once like, you know, mingling and generations pass down, where like Chinese people and Japanese people get together, or like Vietnamese people and Korean or whatever, because even if Asians do stick with other Asians,
right.
eventually, because we look at like, for example, white people in America, and most of those people have no idea where they came from. You know what I'm saying? So
we all kind of know.
Yeah, we all still know, but like maybe 4 or 5 generations from now, they might not really know. What Asian they came from.
And a lot of Asian Americans, like Japanese or Chinese, like whatever, I have friends who are like 7, 8 generations long, right? But they marry within the group. Like one of my friends, like he's an East Coast Chinese dude. His great grandpa came to Boston or New York, and they kept marrying Chinese women from China, even during the Exclusion Act.
Yeah.
And then so Japanese Americans too, for the longest time, like they would just marry other Japanese. And I think that's why Hawaii is probably the best example, where they have their own thing. Like Hawaiians, like they're mixed, they're Japanese, Chinese, Portuguese, whatever, and then they have their own thing, and then they don't relate even back to Asia. So I think that is probably maybe the future for us 20 plus years ago.
Freaking American.
Yeah.
Holy bro.
Hawaiian culture feels like it's just on that island.
It's Hawaii. It's not even American.
They don't even relate to the mainland.
Yeah. But I think that's probably a huge thing about Asian American culture, is just that it's been kind of these satellite groups. Throughout America. And then so you will have Chinese American culture that's very distinct and that's been around for a while. Like they've been around like as long as the Filipino like culture, like since 100 years ago or whatever, right? And then you have Japanese culture on the West Coast, but still it's isolated. There's no like togetherness.
And you have Asian history and dissension amongst nations, and that shit gets passed down.
It does.
It hella gets passed down still, because we're still, even in America, like younger Asian generations, so it's like you're still taught of like your nation's or your culture's history, and like how this country came in and fucked your shit up, or like you know what I'm saying? So It's just different.